Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Headbangers Closet. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. So it's the end of the year, and as you guys have been seeing it on YouTube and on social media, everybody's doing their end of the year best of 2024 lists, and I'm no different. I've been enjoying watching other people's videos and seeing other people's lists on Instagram, so I wanted to do my own. I've been doing my best of the year list since I've done the channel. Last year was a little different. I had a big list on paper of albums I didn't buy that I wanted to give honorable mention to. It ended up being like a 40-minute video. So this time, I'm not going to do that. I listen to a lot of records throughout the year, and there's always, a handful, about between like 10 and 20 that I like better than all the other ones, and I purchased them. So the rule is, if I didn't buy the album, I'm not going to talk about it in this video just because nobody wants to hear me talk for 40 minutes, right? But there's a lot of great stuff out there that I just didn't buy for one reason or another, whether the vinyl was too expensive or there just wasn't a vinyl format for me to purchase. So let's get right to it. These are really in no particular order of a ranking until like about the top 5 or so. But I've been listening to these albums a lot this year. In fact, this is the year I've listened to my favorite albums more than I have in years past. Obviously I go back and listen to my favorite albums and artists of all time, but I've spent a lot of time this particular year with all of these records just because they've been that good. And just like last year, it's a great year for death metal. I don't think that's really going to change. There are so many bands coming out, new bands putting out death metal, then current death metal bands putting out new records. I feel that for every great thrash album or traditional heavy metal album you're going to get 2 or 3 great death metal albums as well. So a lot of death metal in here, but a lot of other stuff as well. So let's get right to it. The first album is Leather Lung. The album is called Graveside Grin, and this band is really, really cool. Doomy. I call it Doomy because this was a band that was on my suggested artists on Spotify, and I gave it a listen. I really, really liked it. It was classified as just straight doom metal, and when I gave it a listen, I was like, no, not really. It doesn't sound like, it's got obviously doom metal influences in it, and it sounds a little doomy, but it's very doom meets punk meets hardcore, just meets straight up, bar heavy metal. I mean, this is an album you put on, and instantly you want to like pop a couple beers, start drinking them, and listen to the tunes. Get some really great sing-along choruses and some killer guitar riffs that after you hear the album, you're kind of humming the guitar riff later on, but just good stuff to kind of get your head banging and singing along to. But Leather Lung, Graveside Grin, just really, really cool stuff. So we're going to do a lot of like thrash, traditional heavy metal, doom metal, and then death is going to be like that almost the whole video. So the first death metal album I'm going to talk about is Skeletal Remains, Fragments of the Ageless, one of the most anticipated records for me in 2024. The last like 4 months, 5 months of 2023, it seemed they've been kind of teasing this thing. So I had to pick it up, and like a lot of the records on this list, they put out multiple colored variants, and each different one was like from a different like site, like record company or something like that, Bandcamp exclusive, band's web store exclusive, Tank Crimes, the whole, the whatnot. And I searched for this one quite a bit to find the nice lime green. I don't even remember which site I got it from, but this is the one I wanted, and I was able to grab it. But anyway, like I said, one of the most anticipated albums of 2024 for me, and it does not disappoint. It's definitely a step up from their last effort. I feel it's heavier. The guitar riffs are better put together. There's some really cool solos in this as well. Still the great death metal vocals we've come to know from Skeletal Remains, but just the whole package of everything, especially the guitars, because the reason I'm a metal fan is guitars, right? So I always kind of listen to that first, and that's what grabs me before anything else does. So if the guitars suck on a record, I'm probably not going to listen to it. But like I said, this thing is a step up. The guitars are weightier. They're more melodic. They're just better put together riffs on this thing. But awesome, straight up, in-your-face, California-style death metal from these guys. Skeletal Remains, Fragments of the Ageless. Pick it up. The next one we have is Corrosive, thrash metal band from Ontario, like Toronto area. I was able to pick this one up over the summer when it was announced. They threw in a handful of stickers as well. Great heavy thrash metal. These guys sound a lot like Devastation, in my opinion, bands like that. Demolition Hammer, kind of borderline on, you know, that death thrash is just really, really heavy. You know, just like another great Canadian thrash band, Raider. You know, kind of have that same type of sound, just really heavy, in-your-face riffs, killer solos, just very, very aggressive thrash metal. But this is Catastrophic Creation. They kind of do the play on the letters with the K, like they have in Corrosive. But really, really cool record. Highly recommend everybody picking this up if you dig thrash, or if you dig death thrash, or any just kind of really aggressive, fast metal. Pick this thing up. You're not going to be disappointed. Let me show you guys the actual vinyl here. Not going to pull out the inserts on every one, but pretty much everything in this list is a colored variant. And it's like the dark red, purple, and blue, marbled, really sharp looking. I was on vacation over the summer. It was actually 4th of July weekend when this thing was announced. So I'm sitting there on the beach drinking a beer with all families around, getting my phone out under the umbrella, trying to pre-order the damn thing. But great record. Next one is another death metal album. These guys are another West Coast death metal band, I believe. They're from like that Pacific Northwest, like Oregon, Washington, but it's Witch Vomit. This thing is called Funeral Sanctum. Really, really great record. Witch Vomit was a band I've been a fan of for quite a while. So when I found out that they were coming out with a new album, I was super stoked. You know, great record. I like it. I'm not disappointed with it at all. But if I'm going to rank it amongst the death metal albums of the year, it's, you know, not going to be in the top, you know, 3 or 4 in my opinion, but still an excellent death metal album nonetheless. And really cool blue and white kind of marbled swirl looking right there, really sharp looking on the other side. Different kind of, you know, color scheme on each side of the record. But really, really great stuff. Witch Vomit, Funeral Sanctum. And again, just like Skeletal Remains, the guitar work on this one, in my opinion, is a step up from the last one. And, you know, the definite kind of dual harmonies on the guitars, a lot of the songs, which is really, really cool. But check it out, Witch Vomit, it's Funeral Sanctum. This next one is a traditional heavy metal band from France. I can't pronounce the name of the album because it's in French, and the name of the band is, it's Ecclesia, Ecclesia. Anyway, another one of my Spotify suggested artists, and I gave it a listen, and blown away. The best song on the record is called If She Floats. Really, really cool stuff. It's traditional heavy metal. The vocal stylings, you know, kind of run the gamut of, you know, like a Jeff Tate Queensryche, Bruce Dickinson. The guy can get high like they can, but he just kind of mainly, you know, keeps it kind of level. Like I would, you know how James Hetfield sings, and those, you know, I would say Puppets Through the Black Album just doesn't get too high or low in a vocal range, just kind of keeps it that even keel. That's kind of what the vocalist of this band does, but the guitars, like everything else, kind of sells it for me. Think Dimebag Darrell with those bluesy, heavier, you know, riffs that, you know, again, the riffs that when you hear it later in the day, you're humming the guitar riff. Picture that with, you know, some traditional heavy metal vocals, but really, really cool stuff. I feel kind of stupid that I really can't pronounce the name of the band, but it's really great stuff. Black and gold, marbled swirl, vinyl, really sharp looking stuff right there, but really cool. Give these guys a listen. I don't think I did a great job describing what they sound like, but just the guitars are so cool. They're heavy, they're bluesy, they're melodic, just really, really great stuff. It reminds me of Dimebag Darrell stuff. I could be wrong. Give it a listen. Let me know what you think about. Really, really cool stuff right there. And another death metal album next. This is Gatecreeper's Dark Superstition. And this album is absolutely phenomenal. Much like Skeletal Remains, there was a lot of different colored variants, and I had to kind of search around for the one that I wanted. And I come across this nice black and white and green splatter. Really, really sharp looking. And I dig this album the first time I listened to it, but I wasn't completely sold enough to buy the album. But then I was watching Metal Never Dies, a good buddy Mark. He does excellent reviews, and he reviewed this one. And I was like, you know, he was so passionate in his review that I was like, I got to give this thing another listen. So I gave it another listen that day. I put it on the headphones while I was working out, and I was like, this thing is awesome. The two guitar players, they do this great, you know, dueling guitar harmonies, and then they'll throw on the riffs. It's just so good. Like a lot of these records, I've already said it a couple times, the guitar riffs sell these albums, in my opinion. And you're sitting there 7, 8 hours after you listen to the record, driving down the street, listen to something else, but you're still humming the damn guitar riffs to these albums. Really, really great stuff. Highly recommend this. Gatecreeper, Dark Superstition. Saw these guys live and supported this album in late August in Atlanta. They came with Frozen Soul. But check it out. It's a great record. And I'm glad I gave it a listen. I'm glad I listened to Mark's review. He's awesome at reviews. I suck at them, so when I want to do a review, I just talk about the record, what I like about it, and then I just watch his review. So you guys should do the same. He's way better than I am. But, you know, I'm glad to watch his video because that's a great album, but I would have missed out. I would have just kind of shelved it. You know, never bought the record, but just probably wouldn't have listened to it again, except that I watched that video. So the next record is a thrash band, Suicidal Angels, Profane Prayer. These guys from Greece. And this is a thrash band that does not get nearly enough attention. I mean, cool gatefold here. Pretty cool. And awesome artwork. All their album covers have great artwork. This is on really nice, bright, shiny red right here. Really sharp looking, like fire engine red. Really cool looking album. Great album though. Best song on the album is Purified by Fire. Just good European style thrash metal, just modern thrash metal. When you listen to it, you can tell they're a European band. But every album they've put out has been really, really good. And they don't get enough attention in the metal world. I don't see nearly enough people talking about them. I don't see enough people on Instagram or Twitter, you know, saying that they've checked them out. But, you know, give these guys a listen. I just mentioned Mark over at Metal Never Dies a minute ago. I know he's big on these dudes as well. So give this album a listen. Profane Prayer, Suicidal Angels. Really, really good modern European thrash. And then we have Kerry King's debut solo record from Hell I Rise. And I absolutely love this record. I've heard so many people shit on this thing. They're like, oh, we could tell Hanneman was the talent in the band. All right, I'm not going to disagree there at all. Oh, it sounds like Slayer. Well, yeah. And I'm kind of glad it does. I wanted to. I didn't want Kerry King of Slayer to come out and sound like some other type of band. And it is a super group. He's got Phil Demmel. He's got Mark from Death Angel. And, you know, I think Mark does a great job on this album. You know, it sounds a lot like Death Angel and Slayer, and rightly so. I mean, you put this on, you see who's in the band, and you kind of could tell that's how it's going to sound like. But like I said, that's what I wanted it to sound like. I'm not disappointed. It sounds like the last Slayer record. It sounds a little bit like a Death Angel record because of the vocals. I love it. There's some great tunes on this thing. One of these songs, you know, Residue and Idle Hands were the singles, right? But probably my favorite song on the album is going to be Trophies of the Tyrant. I think that's the best song. Again, it sounds like a Slayer tune. It's got the same kind of riff structure, the same beat. You can kind of picture Tom Araya singing on that thing. There's a lot of those songs, but again, that's what I wanted from Kerry King. I didn't want him to come out and put out like a traditional heavy metal album or like a black metal record. I wanted him to do Slayer style thrash, and that's what he did on this record. I've heard people kind of shit on the album cover a little bit. I don't think it's that bad. I think the t-shirt and, hold on, let me show you what I would have liked the album cover to look like, was this. I thought this should have been the album cover. That's badass, dude. That's some killer artwork. That should have been the album cover, in my opinion. But, you know, I'm not making those decisions yet. Let me show you the record. So there was a few different variants. I didn't jump on it enough, but I got kind of like the kind of the flesh and blood colored marble there. I don't know what it's called. But there were some better looking ones that I didn't jump on. This was actually supposed to be like a dark gray that I bought, and it didn't come out that way, but whatever. I'm not going to complain. I haven't really seen anybody post any photos of that particular colored variant, so pretty cool. Anyway, Kerry King's from Hell I Rise, awesome stuff. He is coming around to Atlanta this summer with Municipal Waste. Not summer, this fall, this winter, with Municipal Waste, I think the Buckhead Theater, and I'd like to check that out if I can, because I love Municipal Waste. So, as we've been doing on this video, we're going back and forth to death metal bands and then thrash bands like that. So, back to another death metal band. This is the latest from Hyperdontia, and it is called Harvest of Malevolence. Super cool album cover artwork. And this is just a black standard record. Listened to this thing a bunch of times, and I really liked it. I mean, it was an easy listen. There wasn't a lot that stood out from it other than just some, you know, heavy crunching guitar riffs and just your, traditional old school sounding death metal vocals. And I kind of slept on buying the record for a little bit too long and missed out on some really cool colored variants. But I wanted to get it because I really like the album, definitely enough to spend the money on it. So I had to get the black. But really, really cool death metal. If you like old school death metal, you're going to like this. There's nothing like super fancy about these guys. They got a handful of records that are out. Nothing super fancy about them. They're you're just straight up standard old school death metal. It just sounds really good, and you can put the album on, listen to it over and over and over again, and not get bored just because the riffs are that good. So the next album is something a little bit different. Don't have too many albums in this kind of heavy metal genre. This is Coffin Storms. The album is called Arcana Rising. Really, really great stuff. It's 3 dudes in the band. There they are. But they don't really post much on social media at all. And I would say they sound like the band Attic. If you know who Attic is, you'll dig them. The guitar riffs in this thing are second to none. So Attic, King Diamond, Merciful Fate. That's what these guys sound like. And the guitar riffs are absolutely bitching. I mean, these things are badass. I listened to it and I was like, shit, this guitar is awesome. And I went and bought it right away. I mean, absolutely phenomenal record. These guys are from Scandinavia area in Europe. Great stuff though. Really cool album artwork. But check them out. Coffin Storm, Arcana Rising. Great riffs. If you dig Merciful Fate, King Diamond type of stuff, Attic, those style bands, Mystic, bands like that, you're going to dig these guys. Really, really cool stuff. And the next one we have is the latest release from Sentient Horror. This one is called In Service of the Dead. I showed this not too long ago on a just-in kind of video. Nice kind of swamp, forest green vinyl right there, but really, really great stuff. Again, another really good old school death metal sounding band. Really great stuff. The whole album will punch you in the face and get your head banging. You can listen to it over and over again. It doesn't get old. The riffs are great. The vocals are great. The only thing I would change is a few songs on this thing that I think they needed to turn the drums down just a little, but still a great record. These guys have been touring the last few months. They're not really doing a full U.S. tour. They're kind of doing regional stuff, but Sentient Horror, awesome stuff. Great album artwork. They've got some of the most bitching t-shirts in metal too. Every design they have is badass, but great stuff. Give these guys a listen if you hadn't already. Sentient Horror, In Service of the Dead. Great old school sounding death metal. Another really good sounding old school meets the new school sounding death metal is Australia's Cryptcrawler. This album is called The Immortal Realm, and I showed it just the other day, but I'll show it again in case nobody watched that video. So they actually sent me a little personal card. It said, "To Brett, thank you for the support," and they threw in some stickers and a magnet. Let me take it out, but awesome record. The final song on the album is called Gateway of Souls, and it has got to be the best death metal song of the last 4 or 5 years. Absolutely phenomenal. There's the guys in the band. Really, really cool album. Great sounding stuff. Excellent guitar riffs. The solos are killer. Very melodic solos. You can tell these guys are really good musicians just by the way the solos and the riffs sound. The vocals sound great. Just really good old school sounding death metal with kind of that new school flair, in my opinion. And I think that amongst some of the death metal bands out these days, these guys kind of seem like just better musicians. Much like Sentient Horror's album. This is a really nice swamp forest green. Cryptcrawlers, The Immortal Realm. Excellent, excellent record. Just like every album I'm going to show you guys, I highly recommend you guys checking it out. Next one we have is Columbia, South Carolina's own Deiser. This album is called Slave to the Scythe. It's on Carpentered Fire vinyl. I've been a fan of these guys ever since their last record, and this one does not disappoint. If you like blackened speed metal, you're going to love these dudes. It's got a satanic flair to it, but just great blackened speed. If you dig that kind of metal, you're going to love these guys. If you dig thrash metal, you're going to love these guys. If you dig black metal, you're going to love them. If you dig speed metal, think of Midnight. When you hear these guys, although I think maybe just, I like them a little bit better, but great, carbonated fire colored album, orange and yellow and red, Really great stuff. I'm finally going to go see them with Desolus. They're coming, I think, in February on a Saturday night in Atlanta. So really looking forward to seeing these guys. Been a fan. I think they put out their last album. I believe it was like late 2020, maybe 2021. It's been a while. But great stuff. Deiser, Slave to the Scythe. Awesome, heavy, fast, Blackened Speed. The next one we're going to get into, and I guess that one should have said that. So the Sentient Horror, then Crypt Crawler, then Deiser kind of started like the ranking like of my favorites of the year. So kind of pick them out again. So you had Sentient Horrors and Service of the Dead, and this is just my top favorites of the favorites. Then Crypt Crawlers, Immortal Realm, and then you had Deiser's Slave to the Scythe. And the next one, that was one of my favorites, is the new Oxygen Destroyer album. And this one is called Guardians of the Universe. If you don't know who these guys are, give them a listen. It is very heavy death thrash. They've been a death metal fan, but I think this album is a little bit more death thrash. All of their songs are about, like, I guess, the kaiju, the Godzilla type of stuff. They're big fans of that genre of movies. And you can tell in their songs. Awesome stuff. I did it before when I talked about this album. I'll do it again. Just song titles, right? Drawing power from the empathetic priestess of tranquility, eradicating the symbolic hive mind entity from beyond the void, awakening the malevolent destroyer of the heavens and earth, banishing the iris of sempiternal tenebrosity, and then exterminating the ravenous horde of perpetual darkness and annihilation. Just really, really good, heavy death thrash. If that's your thing, you're going to love it. Really nice, kind of like nuclear radiation yellow there, which I thought was cool with the radiation. Kind of play on the theme of the Godzilla, but awesome artwork too. Like the last record I have of theirs over on the shelf, same kind of artwork, just great stuff. Giant kaijus destroying cities. It's really, really cool. Oxygen Destroyers, Guardians of the Universe, excellent record. Give it a listen. And the next one we have is some of the GOATs. Judas Priest, Invincible Shield, awesome stuff. Gatefold. I didn't do a video on this when it came out. I should have, but I didn't. This one is the UK version on Hot Pink, the 2 LP set. This is an album that when you kind of think of how long they've been out, 50 years, and I saw them in May in support of this tour. They came with Sabaton to Atlanta, put on a phenomenal show, probably the best set list I've seen Priest do, and I've seen Priest like 8 or 9 times. But when you think about Priest and how many albums they have, you're like, how can they just keep putting out quality stuff? Dude, I don't even know. They're just that good. This thing's phenomenal. I mean, you can sandwich this one easily in between some of those great 80s albums. It just sounds that good. The riffs are great. Rob sounds amazing as usual. Great stuff. Invincible Shield. I was lucky enough to see them once on the official tour. I did see them on a festival where they actually played the first single from the record, but it wasn't like an official tour. But excellent, excellent record. If you haven't checked it out, I don't know what you're waiting for, dude. So the next one we have is Savage Oath's Divine Battle. I almost said Divine Power. I did a video on this and I called the album name wrong. I had to scrap the whole thing. But excellent record. Great traditional sounding heavy metal. Just think, early Maiden, Priest, Accept, Dio, stuff like that. Another Gatefold record. These guys are one of, it's up there. There's only 2 more albums to show after this. So this is my 3rd favorite record of the year. That's how good this thing is. Phenomenal riffs. Absolutely mind-blowing guitar solos. Just great stuff. Just probably, I would say next to Eternal Champion, the best traditional heavy metal to come out in the last probably 10 years. Just excellent, excellent record. I don't know much about the band. I think the guys in the band are a little older. I do know that they played some festivals last year. They did Hell's Heroes and a few others. I would love to see them live. I mean, they're that good. This is an album, when I first heard it, I probably didn't take it off the, not say turntable, because actually they didn't actually release the vinyl till a few months after the album was out. But I had this thing on Spotify probably 2 or 3 times a day, listen to the record for about, I don't know, say a good 2 to 3 months. It was that good. Savage Oaths, Divine Battle, check it out. Absolutely badass record. 2 left. One of them I talked about a couple times. Sorry, 3 left. My bad. 3 left. So Divine Battle from Savage Oaths is my 4th favorite record of the year. So I've talked about this one a lot. Disarray's Religious Disease, just a killer thrash metal band. I think they're from Sweden. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. A lot of bands are coming out there claiming that they've got that old school thrash sound with, mixed with the new school, and these guys definitely deliver hard and heavy, fast thrash metal the way thrash metal was meant to be. They've got a good mix of the European style with the American style as well, which is one reason I kind of think that makes them so good. They're not kind of pigeonholed to one style of thrash. But these guys are phenomenal. Disarray, Religious Disease. This is now the 3rd time in the last couple of weeks I've shown this record on the channel, so give it a listen. You won't be disappointed. I know some of y'all did already, and a couple of y'all have mentioned on the comments that you dug it, so appreciate that. Appreciate you guys giving a listen. Anybody else watching this for the first time, give these guys a listen. You won't be disappointed. And then the last 2, much like last year, the last 2 of my favorite albums of the year are death metal records. Necrot and I forgot the name of this, Lifeless Birth. I don't know why I just drew a blank, because I just talked about this in my last video as well with the albums I'm playing at a Christmas party. But Necrot's Lifeless Birth, absolutely phenomenal. Really looking forward to seeing these guys live in a few weeks with Cavalera when they're coming doing their Schizophrenia album in its entirety. These guys are in support with them with Dead Heat. But really looking forward to checking these guys out live for the first time. And this was on a really nice black splatter, black and white and red splatter. Great stuff. Killer death metal. Easily, this the reason why it's my number 2 favorite record of the year. Just great riffs. Some of the riffs and breakdowns are second to none. Great solos as well. Huge step up from their last record, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal as well. So I can kind of see where the next one's going. These guys are going to quickly be in the Frozen Soul category of best death metal bands out there right now. And last but certainly not least, my favorite album of the year, and now I've talked about before a couple of times, Hemotoxin, When Time Becomes Loss. These guys are from California. I'm not really sure where. Great album, Lime Green. Absolutely bitchin' record. A lot of death sounding stuff on this album, which is why I like it. But, like Death, you get the great riffs, vocals, and guitar solos. Everything's all into one, much like the Necrot record as well. This thing is phenomenal. Every song on this record is killer. And when I was first listening to it, there was 3 or 4 songs I liked, and I would go to them. And then I was actually driving through Nowheresville, Alabama. You do a 5-hour drive, going fishing for the weekend, and I'm going to all these little backcountry towns and stuff like that, and I'm listening to this thing, and I didn't want to change songs and go to the songs I really liked on the album, because I knew I might lose signal. I'm out there in the middle of nowhere in Alabama, right? So I was kind of letting the album play, and I probably played the album 2 or 3 times in its entirety, and every time I played the record, there was another song that stood out as absolutely killer. Just great stuff. The title track of the record, When Time Becomes Lost, is the last song on the record. And when you listen to it, it's just so good. It's so melodic riffs, melodic solos. The vocals are great. Everything about this album is awesome. I suck at reviews. I suck at kind of describing these records, which... so listen to somebody else when they do it, right? But this album is great. Give these guys a listen. If you like death metal, listen to this band. All right, Hemotoxin, When Time Becomes Lost. Somebody just posted this album on Twitter today, and I went on a 5-tweet rant about how I love this freaking thing, and one dude liked it, and I've never seen anybody else post about this album since it came out. This thing is so freaking good. Please go give this thing a listen. You will not be disappointed. So. Anyway, there you have it. Those are my favorite records of the year. If you guys listen to any of these, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I love talking about this with you guys. I'll post the pictures of these albums on Instagram, and I'll kind of list them going down in the order I showed them in this video. And I'll rank them on Instagram. So if you want to check out that, my Instagram, same name, Headbangers Closet. So check that out. I'll list them and rank them there and show all the pictures so you guys can check them out if you forgot and don't want to go back through the video. But anyway, appreciate everybody checking out the channel. And that was my favorite albums of 2024. Appreciate you guys sitting with me through almost 30 minutes of a video. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year, all that stuff. And I'll have another video for you guys very soon. Cheers, everybody.